guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm back with quite a serious video today, and it's something that's been in the media quite a lot recently. I want to talk about whether social media, and particularly Instagram, is bad for our mental health. And I just want to start this by saying I'm not an expert, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a researcher, I'm not any of those things. I'm talking about this from my point of view as someone who has had a lot of problems with her mental health, I would say in the past, but still now, you know, it's still going on, and who also uses social media. So I just want to talk a little bit about my experiences. I've got a few facts that I found, but mainly this is just going to be me talking about how I feel about social media and mental health. So yeah, I hope you will find it interesting. And yeah, I'm just going to get started, I think. So if you haven't seen sort of the news stories and stuff recently, the thing that kind of made me think about doing this video was about the case of a young girl called Molly Russell, who was 14 when she took her own life. And you know, I've struggled with suicidal thoughts and suicide attempts, and it's a sad, I mean, it's a terrible thing to think of anybody going through that kind of thing, let alone, you know, a young girl. But what brought it to the attention of the media was the fact that her father said that he believed that Instagram was partly responsible for her death. And it just kind of got me thinking about my relationship with Instagram and social media, and how it's had an effect on my mental health over the years. I did look up a little bit about kind of whether there's been any research about it, and it's on my phone, so sorry, I'm going to read off it. But basically, the Royal Society for Public Health commissioned a poll where they asked about 1,500 young people aged between 14 and 24 to rate social media apps on like a wide range of different mental health categories, and the results came back showing that Instagram was ranked the worst for well-being and mental health. And according to the survey, it can contribute to things like anxiety, depression, loneliness and self-esteem issues. And when I was reading this, it just made a lot of sense. So yeah, like that's the kind of, those are the things that made me think that I would quite like to talk about this. So now I want to actually just go on and talk about my experiences of mental health and social media, especially Instagram. So I think for me, I couldn't say that Instagram and social media caused my mental health problems, because my mental health problems developed when I was around about 15. It's kind of difficult because when I look back I can see kind of elements of my mental health problems way before that. So yeah, and I mean, when my mental health sort of really became a problem, there wasn't really a thing as social media. I think we had MSN at the time. This is going to show how old I am now. But there wasn't Instagram or Facebook or Twitter or anything like that. So yeah, I can definitely like categorically say that Instagram wasn't the cause of my mental health problems. However, there were definitely times when, I'm going to refer specifically to Instagram, but this can apply for, you know, other social media outlets as well. There was definitely times when Instagram probably made my mental health worse, or certainly didn't help with making it better. So when my mental health was particularly bad, when I was in a really dark place, whether that was, I don't know, feeling depressed, feeling suicidal, whether my eating disorder was quite bad, I just seemed to get sucked in to the wrong kind of Instagram accounts. I look back at it now and I just think, oh my gosh, like how did I manage to get sucked into this like world? Because I would follow Instagram accounts that promoted things like self-harm, suicide, really negative eating disorder behaviours. You know, it was a lot of really, really triggering content. And, you know, people might just say to me, well, why did you follow it? Why did you not just unfollow it and not look at it? But for me anyway, when I was in, or when I am in, a very, very dark place, your mind seems to kind of latch on to negative things, I suppose. And I think it's almost a form of self-harm. You're putting yourself through following these accounts and making yourself feel worse, not consciously, but that's what you're doing. And that is definitely what I did, like, on and off for a number of years. I would just spend hours scrolling through like pictures and stuff like that, making myself feel like I wasn't worthy of treatment, that I wasn't thin enough, that, I don't know, I wasn't using the right like eating disorder behaviours, that my self-harm wasn't bad enough to like reach out for any kind of help. And those were kind of, I wouldn't even say like the worst accounts. You know, some of the accounts I followed were actively trying to persuade people to lose weight, to have an eating disorder, to self-harm, to kill themselves. And I just now can't believe that those kind of images and those kind of accounts were allowed to just be there in the first place, because they are so damaging. You know, a healthy person may look at them and kind of think, oh gosh, like I don't want to be looking at that, and switch off them. But someone who's really struggling with their mental health might kind of be able to identify with them in a certain way, and then end up being more and more like sucked into them, because you feel so alone when your mental health is bad that you're kind of looking for anything that you can kind of latch onto and feel part of. And yeah, for me it was definitely a massive negative experience. I would go on these sites and I would come off feeling worse, and it just turned into a vicious cycle. The worse I felt, the more I looked at the like accounts and stuff, and the more I looked at the accounts, the worse I felt, and it was just going round and round in circles. And yeah, it really, really wasn't healthy. I wouldn't say it was the cause of any suicide attempts or any kind of worsening of mental health necessarily, like directly, but it was definitely part of my mental health worsening, and yeah, me not looking after myself basically. So that was the kind of negative accounts that I would follow. But even just following, you know, normal accounts, friends, celebrities, influencers, bloggers, that kind of thing, or just normal people that I'd kind of come across, even just following those accounts sometimes would, I found, negatively affect my mental health, because I would look at them and think, their life looks amazing, like, oh, they're so pretty, look, they're so thin, look, they're so happy, why can't I be like that? Why isn't my life always like that? Why are they always going on amazing holidays or like amazing trips out, and I'm stuck at home ill, like not being able to do anything? And what should have been a positive experience of looking at nice images and following friends and keeping in touch with people could quickly become something much more destructive. And I don't think that's not anybody's fault necessarily. I don't think, you know, Instagram, I think, you know, for normal accounts, there's, you know, Instagram shouldn't be shutting them down, because there's nothing wrong with them, and there's nothing wrong with the people who are posting the stuff. That was their part of their lives, and they were like, you know, they were entitled to post those things. And I wouldn't even say it was necessarily my fault. I think it was my mental health fault, to be honest. Because even though I knew that looking at some of these accounts was going to make me feel inadequate and it's going to make me feel worse about myself, I would still do it. And again, I think that's that whole like self-harm thing of putting yourself through something that you know is going to make like hurt you. And But yeah, I found Instagram to be a very easy way of comparing myself to other people. I think I'm quite a visual person anyway, but when you've got like highly edited pictures and people posting, you know, their good bits, it is very in your face. And you know, yes, I found Facebook difficult sometimes reading people's words, but I think seeing images is much more like instant, and my brain would automatically look at that image and then tell me all of these bad things about myself that didn't live up to that person that I was following. So it wasn't even just following dangerous Instagram accounts. Like at times it was just everything that was bad for my mental health. So I think I have come a long way since those kind of really bad times. I do still have blips and I still have difficult times, don't get me wrong, but I am, touch wood, at the moment in a lot more of a stable place, and I'm getting therapy and things are more manageable, I would say. But even now, I still find sometimes that I will be looking through Instagram, just, you know, looking at nice pictures that friends and bloggers and people like that have posted, and I can be feeling alright, and then I'll just see one picture and something will click inside me and it will still affect me, and I'll still come away feeling a bit down and kind of feeling, yeah, inadequate, and just not feeling like I'm good enough, like I'm meeting expectations, like I'm keeping up with my peers. So it just, I don't know, I think it just shows like how, you know, you could be doing absolutely fine and still be affected by Instagram or Facebook or Twitter or whatever your social media platform is that you're using. And yeah, there might be some people who really aren't affected by that kind of thing, but I think if you spoke to most people at some point in their life, they would have been negatively affected by looking at social media. So I think I'm more aware of that now, and I am trying harder to kind of look after myself a bit more, like when I'm using social media. So I thought I would just like finish the video by sharing a few, I don't know whether to call them tips or advice, or just things that I have picked up along the way and I've learned to try and help me protect my mental health whilst still being able to use social media. Because I think it's, some people will like completely delete all social media and that works fine for them, but for the vast majority of people, I just think it's unrealistic to tell people just to not use social media anymore. It's here to stay, I think, and I think the thing is now to be aware of it and be aware of how we can look after ourselves while we use it in a healthy and productive way. So as I said at the beginning, I'm no expert, so you know, if you're having any problems at all, like please do not use this as a replacement for any kind of professional help. But the first thing I think that is important for you to do is to just be a bit more mindful about how social media is making you feel. So asking yourself questions like, how do I feel while I'm scrolling through Instagram? What's my mood like after I finished looking at Facebook or whatever it is? Just like, because I don't know, you can kind of go about your daily life doing all these different things and you kind of think, oh, I feel a bit crap and stuff, but you never really kind of know why. So for me, it's been thinking about, you know, while I'm looking through Instagram, is it actually making me feel happy, or am I just going through it feeling more and more negative about myself? And then, like, I don't know, after I've put my phone down, you know, do I feel positive? Do I feel uplifted? Or do I actually feel quite depressed? Am I spending the rest of the day like overanalyzing everything in my head and thinking about all my inadequacies and the things that I don't like about myself? So I think that's like your first step, is to actually just think about what social media does for you, because until you understand your reactions to social media, I think it's quite difficult to then put in place sort of put in place things to protect yourself or to look after yourself if you don't know what the problem is in the first place. So I think if you have worked out that social media is causing you problems with your own mental health, one of the things that you should probably do is to reduce how much you use it. Like I said, I think it's unrealistic in general terms to tell people to completely stop using social media. I know if someone said that to me, I probably wouldn't be able to do it. One, because I do enjoy it. I enjoy taking pictures, I enjoy editing pictures and sharing and making contact with people, but also it's part of my blog and my YouTube channel, so you know, it's part of that and I can't just stop doing it. But I can stop myself from just mindlessly scrolling through, you know, my feed every 2 or 3 minutes. You know, sometimes I sit there and I realise after, like, I look at the clock again and I'm like, oh my gosh, I've wasted like half an hour just scrolling through pictures doing nothing. So I think it can be quite good to like set yourself like time limits of when you can go on social media and also how long for, so that you're not sitting there for hours just looking through pictures and getting like drawn into this online world too much, so much so that you're forgetting real life. So whether it's like saying, oh, at lunchtime I can look on my social media for 15 minutes and then I'm gonna put my phone down and I'm gonna do something else. I just think being a little bit more like regulated in how much you use it can definitely be a big help. I also found that finding ways to use social media in a positive way really helped me, because it helped me move from seeing social media as a very, very negative space to finding ways to use it in a positive way. So I guess for me, like developing my blog and my YouTube channel has helped me see it in a more positive way because I see it as an extension of those. But also getting involved in like charities or organisations and helping them with their social media, or you know, sharing their posts or posting your own posts to help raise awareness of like a cause that's like close to your heart or something like that. Anything that means you're going onto social media and you're going to be doing something positive, that when you come out of it you kind of think like, yeah, I've made a difference, or that was a good experience for me, I feel like I've got something out of it, rather than the whole just like mindlessly scrolling. And there's nothing wrong with mindlessly scrolling for a little while, but if you're wanting it to become a more positive space, you kind of have to find ways of making that happen, I think. And there's so many organisations and groups and charities and all sorts of things out there. If you just search hashtags or follow people that you know support like similar views to yourself, there's so much out there that you can do. And for me, it definitely has helped to like reframe social media into a more positive light. Something that I have found massively helpful with social media is to continue to remind myself that Instagram especially is just a highlight reel in somebody's life. It's not their everyday life. Like usually, like there are going to be exceptions to the rule, but more often than not, you know, people will take pictures of the good things, the positive things, they will edit them to make them look really pretty, and they will put them on their feed. That is like a tiny, tiny snapshot of the rest of their day. So just because someone has posted a really beautiful picture of them on holiday, or you know, a lovely like outfit picture of them just looking really nice, like made up, all that kind of thing, that doesn't mean that their whole life is like that. And I keep reminding myself of this because I think there's a saying, it's like, don't compare your reality to someone else's highlight reel. And so I look at pictures now and I kind of think, well, yeah, that's a nice picture, they look nice, but it doesn't mean that they still don't have body hang-ups, they don't still have problems with their own mental health, they don't have money issues, or I don't know, problems with a job or something. You know, just because someone can post a nice picture doesn't mean that they don't have a lot going on behind that. And reminding myself of that just helps me remind myself that people, that you know, these are real people behind the accounts. They're not some kind of like glossy pretend magazine. You know, these are just, they've got a talent for producing nice pictures, and yes, some people will have a more privileged life than you, but it doesn't mean that they're still not struggling with things. So I think I just find it really helpful to remind myself of that, and to remind myself that, you know, nobody has a life that is amazingly exciting 24/7. Like, we all have to do boring things. So yeah, I would definitely say just keep reminding yourself of that, and keep reminding yourself of the fact that, you know, these people are normal people as well. I think it's also massively important to unfollow accounts that do not make you feel good. This is something that I fell into a massive trap with, I think, when my mental health was bad. I would just follow accounts that were negative. I followed a hell of a lot of accounts of people like sharing the food they ate during like eating disorder recovery. Well, I say eating disorder recovery, a lot of them weren't in recovery. And I would go through them and I'd feel really bad because I was having to eat more than what they were eating. And, you know, I would follow other accounts where people would post a lot of like depressing quotes and stuff like that. And it just got to the point where I thought, why am I following these people? Like, every time I look at what they post, I feel rubbish. Or I can just unfollow them and it won't come up in my feed anymore. And it's quite a hard thing to do, I think, when you're in that place where you're subconsciously trying to probably hurt yourself by putting yourself through all these nasty things. But it's very liberating as well to go through your feed and be like, don't want to see that anymore, unfollow. Don't want to see that anymore, unfollow. And I mean, I still do it now. Like, sometimes I'll realise that I'm still following someone that I think, actually, I don't need to follow that anymore. Like, I'd rather follow people who post stuff that makes me feel uplifted and motivated and good about myself, and not crap. So yeah, definitely unfollow people that do not make you feel good. On Facebook, I found on Facebook it can be a bit more difficult, because sometimes you don't want to unfollow a friend, but at the same time you're finding it difficult to see what they're posting. So there's like a little mute button that you can press, and it just means that you don't see their posts coming up unless you go looking for them specifically. But it doesn't mean that you're like completely unfollowing them either. And I've done that a few times as well. Like, if I've been in a bad place and I know that there's some people that might post stuff that's a bit more triggering for me, I've just muted them until I'm in a better place so that I can handle it again. And yeah, it's been a really good way to, I think, protect my mental health. My next point is something that I find quite difficult, but it's also quite important, I think, and it is to just try and engage in real life a bit more. It's very easy to live your life online, and I say this as someone who makes weekly vlogs and does a lot of their life online, but you can spend so much time looking through Instagram, looking through Facebook, looking through Twitter, that you don't actually go out and see people face to face. You don't talk to people, you know, like on the phone. You don't interact with people. You don't experience the real world. You don't go out and just enjoy nature, or go out for a meal and just enjoy the food. It's all about online. And yes, like, it kind of has its place. I found it has its place with me, because with being chronically ill, I struggled to do the whole getting out into the real world a lot, and meeting people and like doing all that stuff. So, you know, I do rely on social media a lot to interact with people, to make friendships, to feel part of the world. But at the same time, I still do try to make sure that that isn't my whole life. You know, I try and get out where I can. I try and meet up with a friend, or, you know, even just texting a friend if that's all I can do. And I just think it helps you get away from being in that online world for a bit, because things can be quite intense, I think, online. And I think sometimes you do just need a break. You do just need to go down to a coffee shop and have a coffee with a friend, or go for a little walk or something like that, just to kind of get your perspective back a bit. So I know it's not easy for everybody to do that, but even doing little things like going out and standing in your garden, just feeling like the sun or the rain or whatever it is on your face, just to kind of break that pattern of being completely stuck in an online world. I know for me it really does help my mental health. And then finally, I would just say that if you are struggling with your mental health, if you're finding social media is making you feel really, really bad, I would always recommend speaking to a professional, whether it's going to your GP and saying, look, I'm struggling, I need someone to talk to, I need some help. Whether you already have a therapist, you know, make sure you're taking these things to them and actually talking to them about it. Or if you don't want to go down those routes, you know, there's helplines like the Samaritans, there's Beat for eating disorders, there's Mind. I will link what I can in the description bar so that if you need to make contact with somebody, the details are down there. But I just think it is so important to access the right help, and it's not an easy thing to do. I know how difficult it is to admit that you're struggling and to admit that you need the help, but honestly, for me, I don't think I'd be here if I hadn't reached out. So, you know, yes, it's all very well, like talking is, you know, brilliant, talking to your friends, talking to your family, all that kind of thing, but sometimes you do just need that extra bit of support. And yes, it's not the easiest thing to access, you know, there's a lot of like waiting lists and all this kind of stuff, and it's very frustrating, which is why I think things like the Samaritans and Mind are really good, because they can kind of try and fill that gap a little bit while you're waiting for NHS help. But yeah, please do not suffer in silence. If you're, you know, if something that I have said has kind of resonated with you, or if you're just having a really crappy time at the moment, don't just sit there and be lonely and deal with it on your own. Please reach out for some help. And yeah, you're worth it. Like, I think that's half the battle, is realising that you're worth that help and you deserve that help. And believe me, you do. So yeah, that is the end of my video. I really hope that it's something that you found interesting. I'd be interested to hear your comments on how you find social media and whether you feel like it affects your mental health. I think it's going to be something that's very different for everybody, but I think it's something that we need to be talking about, because, as I said, social media is here to stay and mental health is really important, and I think whatever we can do to protect our mental health, we need to be doing. So yeah, do let me know, and if you've enjoyed it and you want to see more videos, please do give me a like and subscribe to my channel. As I said, leave me a comment, but also let me know if there's any other videos you want to see, whether it's related to mental health, physical health, or something completely different. Please do let me know, because I always like to hear your recommendations, and I will see you in another video very soon. Bye.